What's up, everybody? Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Minute Real Estate Show. My name's Ray. This is Dan. Say hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
And
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. We're two bearded real estate agents spanning the globe, depending on which direction you travel. I'm in Arkansas. Dan is in California. So if you go a particular direction, you cover the whole globe. But what's cooler about that is that we are the number 16 news commentary podcast in the nation of Taiwan. So that was cool. We're going to live that up as much as since we won the notification. It wasn't even an award. It was a notification. We're going to be sure everyone knows.
It's just an email, but we're going to let you know.
That's right. And if you're joining us live, you can join us on YouTube or Facebook. You can make a comment and I can display that comment. We know we got a bunch of lurkers out there. There's no lurking today. You guys commented up. And we're also
we can have the one. Norm, my father can lurk. That's it.
That's right. We're also broadcasting live on Clubhouse. So if you're searching for it, look for the Real Estate Networking Club or just search for Ray Ellen or Dan. Are you D. Ludwig Rocks on Clubhouse?
Yeah, everywhere. D. Ludwig Rocks. Yeah.
There you go. Matthew, producer Matt, he jumps in the comments, says Taiwan is about to send a cease and desist. Yeah, maybe.
The whole country.
We're using that a lot. That's right. Well, man, it's been nuts lately in this last week. I feel like I did my numbers for the first quarter, and normally I'm a 60-40, so I'm your average producer. I do 60% buyers, 40% sellers. This year, 60-40, 60% sellers, 40% buyers. So it's been more difficult to find properties for buyers and easier to sell the houses, or their houses are selling faster. But what's interesting today, we're going to talk about a little bit of the loosening in the inventory. We're going to talk about the mortgage rates that are unseasonably low, and we'll talk about speaking of seasons, you guys got to check out my Instagram. Just check out the Instagram and the story I put up recently. Okay, and there's PC is going a little too far. If you're afraid of saying summer because in other parts of the world it's winter, we're going a little far.
Oh geez.
Okay, so
let's go down a path real quick. I'm fine with most things. If Ray came to me and said, you know what, I want you to call me a broom now, I'm gonna call the guy a broom. I'm down. Here's where I didn't know where I draw the line. I always wait to see where's Dan gonna draw the line, and it's at seasons. If you don't know, this is a little bit of an inside joke, but go see Ray's story. But man. I'm not gonna, hey, if it's winter time in Japan right now, I'm still gonna say we're in the middle of summer in California. That's my line. I drew it.
Sir. You're in the middle of July. You're in the middle of July.
No,
you're at the beginning of Q3.
Summer.
Nope, the beginning
summer.
Of Q3.
I'm doing it.
All right, we're also going to talk about wood, the price of lumber, what's happening there. Compass has launched their mortgage company. Delinquency rate is low. Let's see, NAR. So last week we talked about the NAR versus the DOJ, and we had this huge buildup to what they said that they were going to do in response, which so far was absolutely nothing. So we'll have a little update report on the NAR versus the DOJ. And there's a watchdog group that thinks the NAR cut a deal with the Trump DOJ to undermine the commission. So
yeah, not an Obama DOJ, which it probably was. No, Trump DOJ.
Oh, it was the Trump DOJ, but still, I mean, they throw that in there to get some negative connotation, which is interesting. Makes it a good clickable headline. And so we'll talk about the information they have and the evidence. So we got all that and more. But before we dive into that, Dan, would you tell people what this show is actually all about?
You know what? I'd love to. Now, when I met Ray just forever ago, he was sipping on his Arkansas mug. Yeah, but I had actually had an idea for a show because I am in fact a bearded man in real estate. But when I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him.
Really? What's that, Dan?
He can do a backflip and a twist.
I can.
He actually can.
True story.
It's amazing. You do one a year, right?
Yeah. It's a front flip and a twist actually, but yes.
Okay,
I could do a back flip and a twist, but that's a little easier. The front flip full, it's called a front full, and yeah, I do one a year.
And is it a full 360 twist or 180?
No, it's a full 360.
Yeah, so he does a front flip and a full twist. So if you've ever met Ray, I mean, you could probably tell by his stature, But
I'm not
maybe
small.
maybe you can't tell how tall he is. I'm a little bit taller than he is, but he's a little bit bigger than me. So it's amazing that the man is this agile and he can do the front flip and a twist. Do they call that something?
A front full. Yeah, it's a front full.
So he can do a front full. But what I also notice is he loves getting value up front to not only his clients, but just humans in general. So the show's about being more as an agent, but also being more as a human.
And speaking of being more, one of the ways that we feel like you can give back to your clients and to the industry as a whole is by being educated on what in the world is going on in the marketplace. So we wanted to create one show, one place where you could go and get all of the latest news for this week in real estate. And that's why we created this show. So Dan, thanks for being the partner. What has it been, like 3 years now?
4.
Has it been 4?
Yeah,
we're says, Ray the gymnast. Melissa, could you share the link to this show with our BMORE contributors group? I totally forgot to do that today.
It's 4, yeah, because we
Michael
started
late. Says been saying that being a buyer's agent since the Rona sucks. Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah,
not easy.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, wait. Let's figure. I think was it September, October of 2017 was our first shows.
So we're coming up on 4 years then.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It's a long time to do
show number 155.
And by the way, we've never gotten paid for the show, but we can now. So
yeah, we can. We actually have some sponsors that maybe, and Dan can accept money in Clubhouse. He wants me to mention.
Yeah. So if you want to buy me a drink, you can just send that money right through. Send me a tip through Clubhouse or my Cash App, which is just dletteryrocks.com. I'm shameless. I don't mind. I'll take the money for a drink.
I have to say we do have a couple of offers for sponsors, and I like one of them a whole lot. One of them is kind of interesting, but we won't ever sponsor anything that we first don't have any experience with. And so if you see us mention a sponsor, it's actually from the heart a little bit, and it's people that want to support the show, which we think is really cool. And if we can get more and more information out to the masses, then I think hopefully it'll help the industry. So
and literally we stay as current as possible. As we're prepping for the show, doing everything we do to get ready for the show, we're still looking for real estate news. And there were 2 or 3 stories that popped up this morning, and one the first 3 or 4 articles all kind of flow together, but they the first one is a week ago. The second one is really current. After. So we're constantly searching, not only for us, but just for you guys, so we can stay current. And it really helps us to have the feedback on the show like we get. So
are you ready?
100%.
Okay, so the first article we're going to talk about is one that released right after the show last week, or we saw it right after the show last week.
They waited.
And I'm going to kind of skim it real fast. It said mortgage applications sink to their lowest level since before the pandemic hit. It goes on to say mortgage demand fell for the second week in a row. Inventory is low. High home prices continue to weigh on the housing market. Mortgage applications decreased 1.8% last week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. Seasonally adjusted index fall to the lowest level since the beginning of 2020. Both refinance and purchase applications took a hit. Yada, yada, yada. Fast forward 1 week, and we have weekly mortgage refinances spike 20% after the interest rates drop. And the applications to purchase are also up 8%. So it was still down 29% compared to the same time in 2020. It says homeowners saw an opportunity last week and seized it. A sudden and unexpected drop in mortgage rates sent borrowers to the lenders in droves. And that was mainly talking about the refinance activity. We know that purchase applications aren't as sensitive for refi or for rate decreases, but still the number of purchase applications went up. That is probably more than likely due to the increase in inventory that we talked about last week. If you saw our thumbnail, it was the Oprah Winfrey, you get a house. And we were talking about signs that the inventory is going up. And we said, I think there were several on the show last week that said if inventory goes up, it's only going to start absorbing more for the buyers that can't currently find a home. It's not going to have a huge impact on prices. We might see price increases slow a little bit. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. So the treasury yields have tended lower the past month, and investors remain concerned about the COVID variant slowing economic growth, said Joel Kahn, MBA's Vice President of Economic and Industry Forecasting. Mortgage rates fell for the second consecutive week with, as a result, with a 30-year fixed rate hitting 3.09%, its lowest level since February 2021. What was that?
That's just Matt is.
Oh, it's Matt. Isn't that? I'm not even looking at the screen, so I gotta.
I know.
Right.
Yeah.
The supply of homes is finally beginning to rise, and that also may be bringing some buyers into the market that are edged out by the heavy competition over the past year. So is the third article in with this one too? Well, a little bit.
I would
go
love
ahead and
to
cover this too, and then I want to
here.
get some feedback. Yeah.
Yeah.
U.S. mortgage rates fall further back from the 3% mark. Mortgage rates fell once more the week ending on the 8th of July, following 4 basis point decline from the previous week. 30-year fixed rates dropped 2.9%. So just that's pretty low. if you're falling in the twos in the heat of the summer, which is when most people like to move, this is pretty great for someone that's looking to purchase a home. Plus, you're seeing the increase in inventory. It seems like a perfect storm for buyers and then sellers that need to buy because maybe inventory is loosening up for them to find something.
Yeah. And that's what, so I want to get the feedback here is, we got some good feedback on the pre-show show yesterday. And if you're not a part of it or you didn't catch it yesterday, every Tuesday at some time, we don't really have a scheduled time,
it's
but
usually around 2. Like yesterday it was 1:45. It's been 2:15.
Raise time.
Yeah, if you follow us on Clubhouse, then you can get the alert and you'll see when we schedule it. But it's usually we're going to try around 2:00.
Yeah, and Nico, who is in North Jersey, I believe, he works in a few different markets like all of us do, but in one of them, he said it's a full-on buyer's market. So, and he's kind of mentioned that a few times on the show, but now he's like, it's like, he has a current listing that's the lowest on the market and it's just sitting, so that's, crazy. You could list anything, at any price pretty much a few months ago and it would just go. So I think that's interesting. And what we're seeing, I did run my numbers and I think we talked about this last week. So our numbers are up. Slightly, it's 4% or something. So it's tiny, but we're at almost a full month. And I did the same 4 cities that I did last, because I usually only do Rancho Cucamonga, which is where the city I live in. But I added 3 more cities and we're up to almost a full month of supply.
Wow.
So, we've been at like 15 days, 20 days for a while. Now we're at 28. So when you do the math, it rounded up to about 28 days. So we're getting there. So it kind of is in line with the story. But the biggest concern is that we currently have 309 active or coming soon listings. There's 511 in pending or offer, or what we call backup offers, or an offer has been accepted. So there's still a lot more in escrow than is available. So that's still a little bit of concern because that stuff's all going to be, so things are still going quicker than they're coming on the market, but it seems to be less of a discrepancy as it was before. It's not as stark as it was before.
So I want to take, I'm going to bring up the Clubhouse, but I want to have, because we have, let's see, Kelly, Carly, Stephen, William, Jen, Matt, and Andy are all moderators in the chat right now. I'd love to hear your take on your market. So flash your mics and we'll be bringing you up in just a second. But I wanted to have another take on this inventory that you just talked about. So there's 300 homes that are currently available. There's 500 homes that are basically pending or under contract. So that's 800 homes total. If you do the math, that's about 63% of the market is currently unavailable. So everyone that's searching on Zillow, Trulio, and Realtor.com, you can tell them that, hey, look, I know you're getting frustrated because 6 out of 10 of what you click on, you don't have a hope to purchase. So whenever you can't even buy it. So don't get your hopes up 6 out of 10 times. However, if you want me to filter the market for you and only show you properties that you're interested in and are available, then I won't get your hopes up. So that's another way to battle some of the big third-party websites that don't take that data, and they don't really care to correct the data because their goal is to generate the lead for the agent. So if they could generate the lead for the agent, then they've won, and that's fine. That's their business model. And I don't really care. But for the consumer, once they're actually active in their home search, it's important that you help them delineate that. And I still have my clients, if you see anything on Zillow, just send it to me. I'm happy to take a look at it, make sure it's still available. And
Yeah.
sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But one of the biggest things I do is if it is available, I compare that piece, that property to the search I'm running for them. And then I ask them, hey, you said previously you only wanted 4-bedroom homes. This one's 3-bedroom. Do you want me to change your search criteria and see what else opens up?
Yeah.
Because, sometimes they'll be talking at night together and they'll make this decision and be like, yeah, let's tell the real estate agent in the morning. And they forget to tell us.
Or, hey, it's just that one house. No, this house had a den, so we were kind of okay with it. So you leave it at 4. But,
right.
And I always say the same thing. I don't mind where you guys look, but make sure either to send it to me or cross-reference it with my search that I have set up for you, because you're not going to see any unavailable properties.
So there you go. So that's one way to do it. Let me bring up Clubhouse. I'd love to hear what's going on in you guys' markets. Are you seeing a little bit of relief in the inventory? Are buyers finding what they're looking for? Carly, I know you're in Northwest Arkansas. What are you guys experiencing there? She may not be. Oh, there she is.
Hey, yeah, I'm starting to see some price reductions actually happening here. So it seems like it's slowing down. However, still getting some multiple offers. So pricing is a little bit tricky these days now because of, wanting to get those multi-offers without just pricing yourself out of the market. So it's an interesting balance now more than ever.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's see. Matt Lamarche, you're in Hotlanta. Are you seeing any of that? We talked to you a little bit last week about it. Have you noticed any change?
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing is a lot of the same, honestly, a little bit of cooling, but not what people not in real estate would call cooling.
Right.
So instead of getting 10 offers, you're getting 3. The prices are still really, really high. In fact, I anecdotally heard a story of a property that got listed at 1.5 and sold at 1.7 within a day. So a lot of the same.
Wow, that's wild. Wild times. Let's see. Jen, you're in Oregon. What's going on in your neck of the woods?
Oh, shoot. Sorry. I wasn't wholly prepared. We are having a little bit of a slowdown. It's actually kind of nice. I sort of don't know what to do with myself when we're not writing 10 or 15 offers on things.
For the same client.
Oh, yeah. No, I've written more offers this year than I have in probably my 20 years in real estate. But I can write those offers with my eyes closed now. So we are having a little bit of slowdown, but we're still looking good. It feels normal again, which is great. We're not going crazy high over asking. That being said, my latest listing, we had only 2 offers, but they were both $90,000 over asking. So,
right, which is what Ray's been saying.
I don't know what that means, but just waiting on the appraisal.
Yeah, that's true. We have been talking about that a lot. I think I said 2-3 months ago in our market, you might get 20 offers, 17 offers, something crazy like that. But there'd only be 5 that were actual contenders, that were above list. Well, now you may only get 3 to 5 offers, but they're all the contenders. So those that are, at list price or below list price or asking for seller concessions, they've kind of stopped playing ball here. So it's not necessarily slower. We are seeing a little bit more days on market. In Northwest Arkansas, I listed a house there for a client that is here. We have an office up there, and it was really interesting. We listed on Father's Day weekend, really didn't get much activity. And then the whole next week, it like blew up with activity and then went under contract. Well, a lot of the houses that listed after him in his neighborhood, before Father's Day, it was like 3 seconds on the market, 30 seconds on the market. It was that kind of craziness. Then we listed his, went under contract, above list price, good price. Everybody's happy. Now the other properties that were listed in that same neighborhood had lingered on the market a little while, but they also went on the market a little higher. So I think what Carly said was pretty insightful. It's very difficult right now to come up with the prices that, our clients are looking at us and saying, well, what should I price my house for? And then we start to do the research, and all of those closings that have happened over the last 9 months that have been totally crazy high, those are starting to have an impact on our comparative market analysis. And if we tell the clients now, like, yeah, you could totally list probably $20,000 over this and sell, maybe they could, but maybe now they can't, because if we're taking those into account, those lagging indicators of the past sales that have been crazy high and people making up for the the appraisal gaps and things like that, if those are starting to close, then maybe it is starting to, it's not necessarily that home price gains have slowed. It's that we're getting better at being able to predict the purchase price of the average home based on previous sales, which was previously really difficult. I know, I think Elizabeth is in the room. We were talking about that yesterday as she was writing offers for her clients, trying to figure out what's a good offer based on where it's listed. So, all right. Well, thanks guys for the insight. Andy, William, know you guys are here too. If you have any insight, feel free to flash your mic. Come on up. I'll bring you up there. William. All right, let's go. Andy.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, William. I didn't see you. Go ahead, man.
Well, obviously I'm a lender, so we do a lot of tracking, bidding wars, the number one thing out there, still abundant, but they've slowly cooled down. In April, we were at 74% of the offers were in bidding wars. May, we dropped down to 72%. And now the month of June, we dropped all the way down to 65%. So like you said in your intro, the inventory is coming back on the market, which is good for buyers that have been patiently waiting and getting their offers rejected. More inventory is coming up, and there's less of 20 offers on a home. You're still seeing it out here. I'm in the Chicago market, and it's still crazy as ever with the offers. I mean, I have clients, especially if they're FHA buyers, they're still getting looked right a pass because there's still 3 or 4 that are conventional, and maybe one of them are FHA or cash. So we are seeing that, which is good. You just tell people to keep, looking ahead and saying, hey, that's not the house for you. There's a house out there. We just need to find it. So back to you, Ray.
Thanks, man. That's good. That's insightful. 60% now in multiple offer situations in Chicago. Andy, what's your take, man?
I'd say it's probably the same as everybody else. You're seeing just a little bit less offers, not quite going as high. I think it's just like us. We're all fatigued and frustrated for our buyers in this type of market. But I would say that the prices seem to be leveling off just a little bit. And most of my sellers, unless it's in a certain pocket or a certain type of house, I'm mostly saying, let's go just under where we think the market is at and allow the market to drive up the price and have the appraisal gap coverage. That's generally how I'm looking at this and have been looking at it. And it's worked out well so far. The ones that are staying on the market longer, like you mentioned, they started off higher, probably too high. And, the market is speaking, we're not going to go that high for that area or for that house. So I think those are where the corrections need to be made.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Good takes, guys. Thank you. Thank you for adding to that discussion. And that's one of the things that I think makes our podcast different is that we're going to tell you what the news says, but how cool is it to have real estate professionals from around the country that are kind of echoing what some of these articles are saying? Like, yes, we are noticing this slight slowdown. We are noticing a more comfortable pace in the market, as Jen said. There's 2 things that can cause that, really. And one is buyers totally backing off. Right. So buyers kind of pulling out of the market, getting frustrated, now going into rentals, forgetting that they want to buy a house. And if you recall, as Logan says from Housing Wire, he calls them the foreclosure bros. No, not forbearance bros, foreclosure bros. Anyway, all the people that were predicting, like Susie Orman, Grant Cardone, they kind of doubled down on the prediction of a housing crash coming. They all said, forbearance crash bros. Thank you, Dan. They all said that it would happen because the forbearance and people would be delinquent and behind on their payments. And then the buyers would say, forget it. I'm not going to buy anything. So they would stop buying and they would all go into rentals. And as they went into rentals, the housing prices would begin to crash. And suddenly your home is worth half of what it was. That appears to not be the case. What appears to be the case is that there's actually more inventory coming on the market. And that kind of brings us to the next story. This one, again, is from CNBC. Home buyers are finally catching a break as new listings rise and mortgage rates drop. So the new listing inventory, they jumped 4% for the 4-week period ending in July 4th compared to the same period 1 year ago. And this data is according to Redfin. They were up 3% from the same time in 2019, and it was the first time new supply topped pre-pandy levels. So the number of active listings is still down 32% from a year ago, but that's actually the smallest annual drop since early February. Active listings are now up 8% for the 2021 low in early March. This quote is from Daryl Fairweather. She's a chief economist at Redfin. Many buyers have backed away from the housing market and are waiting until more and better homes are listed. Buyers don't have the same sense of urgency that they did at the beginning of the year, and they aren't racing to buy before prices increase because asking prices have already increased and stabilized. Well, as we just talked about, it seems to be more of an increase in inventory. So this is where some of the discrepancy comes in, and what we are feeling as real estate agents, what we're sensing for our clients, and what some of the news reports are that may seem a little bit more sensational. So home prices were up 15.4% in May compared with May of 2020, according to CoreLogic. Prices, however, are projected by CoreLogic economists to increase 3.4% by May of 2022. First-time home buyers are hitting a wall in many places around the country as the pace of home price rise outpaces the benefits of lower borrowing costs. Younger and the first-time buyers, including younger millennials, are faced with the challenge of having sufficient savings, down payment, closing costs, and cash reserves. That was Frank Martel, president and CEO of CoreLogic. Mortgage rates, while historically low, have been on a roller coaster. Let me skip to some of these other quotes here. Despite the pessimism in home buying conditions, we expect demand for housing to persist at an elevated level through the rest of the year. That was Doug Duncan, Fannie Mae's chief economist. So what it seems like we're seeing is a trickle of inventory hitting the market. It is up 4%. So inventory is getting better, slower and slower. And the pace at which buyers are absorbing that inventory is a little bit slower. But I think whenever you have an increase in inventory at all from a market that is really pressed for inventory, all of the real estate agents, we're going to kind of feel that additional inventory hit the market. And the way we feel it is by fewer buyers making offers on the same property. So instead of having the 20 offers, you get the 5 to 3 offers, and you'll see a little bit more days on market. So let me add Dan back to the conversation because he had a massive power outage. During that.
Literally. Hold on.
How's it going, Dan? Welcome back.
I think we're good. Am I back in focus? Yeah, literally had to deal with a major power outage. So all right, we're good.
All right, so we were just talking about this article, the next article there. The home buyers are finally catching a break as new listing rise and mortgage rates drop. But then in the content of the article, they had several people saying that they feel like people are pulling back. But in my market, I don't feel like buyers are pulling back that much. I think buyers are still searching. They're just finally starting to find what they're looking for, and there's more inventory. What are you seeing?
Well, same, but for me personally, I'm teetering more towards listings right now. So there are less buyers, but it's just kind of more my focus. It's not really, it's not that I'm seeing less buyers. I'm still getting the same buyer leads and same amount. I'm just working with less because I'm more focused on listings and sellers at the moment. But I don't think buyers are pulling back. I mean, I think there's a whole fatigue thing, and like, I feel like we're through that, if that makes any sense. Like, as frustrating as it was, I think losing out to 30 other offers is very frustrating. Losing out to 2 or 3 is like, oh, okay, well, we were at least top 4.
You were in the game.
You were in the game. We're 50 grand under, but there's only 4 other offers. So I feel like that. And then on the buy side, we've been seeing less. I got a VA offer accepted against no other offers. We did not have to compete. So that's unheard of for up until even 3 months ago, so I believe there's a big settling, that's coming, and it's we'll call it a cooling, not a settling. Right. And I think it's good. I don't believe that interest rates should stay this low. I think they have to go up to kind of cool, because who said it yesterday? Who's our friend from the UK?
That was Rachel.
Yeah, so she said it really well, which is, if prices keep, because they're up 15% from just a year ago. So even if rates stay low, eventually at some point, the house is still going to be too expensive. You're still going to price too many buyers out. So if you bring those rates up, even not over 4, I think that a lot of the conversation was yesterday was, like someone said double, and no one's saying that rates are going to double. No. But even if they went to 3.5 or closer to 4, I think that would settle a lot of buyers, and then bring the home prices down a little bit, or at least calm them to where then sellers would get off the fence and go, okay, cool, I can sell now and buy, and interest rates are still crazy low.
I agree with you in part, but if you recall 2-3 years ago, we were begging sellers to go ahead and sell and list your property, get it on the market, and then we'll worry about what to find. Because if you put in an offer to a home that's contingent upon the sale of your property, you're going to have to be at or above list price. And that, I'm talking about the old market, right?
Yeah.
And these days, of course, you're at or above list price. But in the old days, you're going to be at or above list price. And I can't give you the 5 to 10% savings through negotiation that I could if you didn't have a contingency on the close and sale of the property. So even back then, we were begging sellers to do the same thing. And they were always like, well, I'm nervous that I won't find somewhere to go. I'm actually having more sellers now be like, yeah, screw it. Let's throw it on the market and we'll find a rental or do something.
Because they know they're going to get a crazy price.
Yeah, they're getting a crazy price. So it's the same. I think it's the same discussion. It's just on different sides of it. You're going to get a crazy sale price now, but in the future, when it is a great buyer's market, you're going to get a crazy good price when you buy if you don't have the contingency.
Right.
So either way, it's always best to go ahead and list your property, see if you can negotiate some kind of delays, get that contingency off of you so that you can make a better offer. And before we go too much further, I want to make a bit of a love connection. Christina M. Smallhorn, she joins us. Hi. She says, hello, gentlemen. Hello. I noticed she has her 100,000 subscribers icon in her. So let's clap it up for Christina.
Yay.
So guys, I don't know if you know how
that's amazing.
She's a YouTuber and she's been joining our show for a long time. And we're proud to be a contributor to her 100,000. We think if any of you guys comment on our show regularly, you could also be Christina. She said, price it fair and let the market dictate the price, which is good.
So I kind of wanted to go off of that point. And I'm starting to have these conversations with sellers now. It's because it used to be, all right, everything dictates your house is worth 450. And they're like, well, we want to list it at 5. Cool. Let's list it at 5. Like, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
But now
that's going away.
Yeah. To me, the conversation is switching and it's more, and I just had this this conversation at the listing appointment on Saturday, which was, kind of what she said, price it fair. I really, really urge them to price it compellingly, meaning you're not just going to get anyone, because there is, although there's 0 listings active, within a mile of this house, this new listing that I have. So that's good. But I still said, I'm going to urge you to price it very, very compellingly. So we get the max amount of buyers on this. And then the good news is I'm going to be able to negotiate the best possible scenario for you. And she's not buying. So she's just selling. And fortunately they listed. So they listened. So I'm really excited about, being able to have that conversation and being knowledgeable enough to have sellers listen to me. So I would urge you guys, listing agents out there, have that conversation with them, just kind of more of the under promise, over deliver thing. Like start throwing that in, because the market is, I think prices still have to be very compelling nowadays to get that. I don't think it's the, well, Zillow says, okay, well, I don't care. Let's listen to what Zillow says. I don't think we can get that right now.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a price it fair and let the market dictate the price, just like Christina says.
Yeah. She said, thanks, fellas. You're welcome, Christina. Oh, and on the love connection I was talking about, search Clubhouse for ADU. I don't know if you've met the ADU guy, but he was talking this morning in one of the Clubhouse rooms in the Real Estate All Day group. About,
I thought the love connection was Christina to her 1,000 followers on YouTube.
I guess so. I mean, that could be. I'm sure she loves every one of her followers too. But the ADU guy was talking about tiny dwellings and how people are converting buses, and there's services out there that basically you could park a bus or an Airstream in your driveway and you get to use it for free, and you just kind of reserve the times that you want to use it. You didn't have to pay for it at all. And there's a company that'll park it in your driveway and then they rent it out. So there's someone living in your driveway in that Airstream, and then you get to use it and have your Airstream on. So it's basically like an Airbnb,
but at your house,
outside of your house. Yeah. Where places where POAs would allow that kind of thing. But I thought that was I never thought of that, but that's a really interesting business model. Anyway, thanks for joining. Yeah. If you haven't followed Christina and her YouTube channel, you got to check it out because she does a lot of tiny home stuff. Antonio, he's joining us. What up, gentlemen? Hey, man, thanks for joining the show. All right, so let me get into delinquencies. one of the big calling cards of those crash bros is that, hey, all these delinquencies are going to happen, and people are going to be so far behind on their mortgage payments that they're not going to have any more equity, and we're going to have a ton of foreclosures, and it's going to be just like
flood the market.
2008, 2009, and none of the banks can loan money because they're all holding these delinquent properties and trying to foreclose on them. Delinquency rate hits the lowest level seen in a year, according to CoreLogic. 4.7% of mortgages were delinquent in April 2021.
Owned.
That is just not working out for the crash guys
At all. Like not even
at all.
close, because we're a year on from this. We can celebrate, I think, the year anniversary of the Susie Orman prediction.
That's right.
We're about at a year, and they just keep getting owned day after day after day. I mean, these stories coming out, it's phenomenal to watch these, how wrong they were, how phenomenally wrong they were.
Yeah, and I'm going to hang on. I have to message somebody. I'm using our new back channel. Did you find the?
By the way, I keep getting updates that say, "Hey, Matt Lamar sent you a message. Update your app to get messages." I just updated. Still not getting messages.
That's cool. Let's see. Oh, yes. So Antonio also asked, are we going to talk about the DOJ versus NAR? Yes, we are.
Yes.
Okay. So with the biggest hit taking place in the early months of the pandy, mortgage outlook continues to improve. Overall delinquency rates dropped annually for the first time since March 2020. According to the latest report from property analytics provider CoreLogic, it was released on Tuesday, 4.7% of mortgages in the U.S. were in some state of delinquency in April. This number is a significant drop from the 6.1% observed in April of 2020. And the rates, it just keeps dropping on the chart. There's a great chart on there that producer Matt can pop up there and see. There's only 0.3% in foreclosure. And I'd love to know how this compares to 2019, actually. It compares it to April 2020 versus April 2021. But man, what I wouldn't give for people to take one more year. I just want one more year.
So there is a couple things that I want to make sure to bring up in this article. And by the way, on the other articles, if you want actual interest rates there, I mean, we pull from CNBC, Housing Wire, Forbes, all over the place. So make sure you're going and checking out these. Actually get the source yourselves. So at the start of the Rona, there was much talk that widespread shutdowns and unemployment would take its toll on the mortgage and housing markets, while anti-eviction and anti-foreclosure orders prevented a homelessness crisis. Stacked missed payments create a financial hole that's difficult to get out of. So in April and May, we started to see these reverberations with some of the highest delinquency rates in over a decade. So one number that indicates a problem is, and I don't think you hit this right, did you?
No.
One number that indicates a problem is the serious delinquent rates of mortgage payments that are missed by more than 90 days. At 3.3%, they are up 1.2% from April 2020 and indicate the financial hole that can be created when a mortgage payment is missed and next month income needs to cover two payments. So that's something to watch. Is it going to still prove the forbearance crash bros right? No, but that is a little tidbit in there that we should cancel the crash bros.
Thanks, producer Matt.
But yeah, that is something that I mean, we've already canceled summer, so I guess whatever. There's no more hot girl summer.
No more seasons. Okay, it's just July.
So wait. I hate to take a turn here, but what are they going to call it? Hot girl Q3.
Hot girl Q3.
All right, sorry, but anyway, I mean, it's when you get past the headlines, which Ray and I have always prided ourselves on. Part of the reason we do this show is to get past the headlines and read it. But when you read it down, there is little, there are higher delinquency rates from those 90 days or more. So it's we got to watch those. But again, I know it would be unfortunate, but if those things, those banks that are holding those that shadow inventory start releasing them, that would help loosen up inventory.
We should totally change the show title now to Hot Girl Q3.
Hot Girl Q3.
Oh my goodness. Julie Moon says, but people totally listen to the Crash Bros. It drives me bonkers. Yeah,
it does.
All right, so let's go into a little bit more data, and then we'll talk about Compass lumber prices.
Matt, I dare you to do it.
Historic day today. Lumber prices are now below 700. What? So we are all the way down to $649.90.
Hot Beards Q3.
Hot Beards Q3. Yeah. That's good. So anyway, it got up to, if you producer Matt, if you'll click the 1 year button on that chart, it got all the way up to $1,670.50 per 1,000 board feet. And that's up from the previous low in the last year of, what was it? What's that low there? $482.40. And now it is 649. So basically 650. If you look at the 5-year chart, you'll see the lowest it's been in 5 years was in April of 2020. It was 260.
200 something.
Yeah. So, but it was previously, it was kind of hovering around 300 to 400, occasional spikes to 500. So we're right back in it to where lumber prices have now stabilized, but yet
it's only double, not triple and quadruple.
Right. I keep seeing articles that talk about other building supplies and how they are continuing to stay high. So that's interesting. If you're a builder in the chat, raise your hand because I'd love to ask you kind of what that's about. Stonks. hitting lumber prices hitting bottom. There is talk about a rebound, and that's that's unfortunate. That's behind a paywall. So there are opinion pieces out there that talk about could it rebound and go high again. It's kind of a wait and see.
And my thing is, I want to know, as lumber comes down, why aren't starts up? New housing starts up, and why are prices still so high? I understand it when it was $1,600 a square board foot and all that stuff, but why isn't that coming down? Why isn't there those articles like, hey, builders are seeing lumber prices come down, so their starts are up? And I mean, because we know that sentiment is up, or whatever they call it, at 85 or whatever.
You say cinnamon?
Sentiment.
Oh, I was like, wait a minute. What kind of homes are candy homes? Are they these candy cottages?
Yes, the witch from Hansel and Gretel. She's looking to build a home right now, and
the price of drops is crazy right now.
They're crazy right now, so she can't build. She cannot trap any more children.
Well, maybe she needs to get a mortgage, and a new place she could do that is from Compass. Compass is launching their own mortgage company.
It's good.
That was pretty good.
I'm in.
I like the transition. So if you're a Compass agent, you will have some early access to this Origin Point. That's the name of it. Unfortunately, there's already a Compass mortgage apparently. So we did a Google search trying to find it. It was but Origin Point's not a bad name.
For a technology company, mortgage or Compass's SEO on their new mortgage company is horrible.
Yeah, they gotta work on the SEO a little bit. Yeah. All right, so over the past, but it did just launch. I'll give them a break. So over the past 8 years, Compass has been laser focused on building a company that empowers top agents across the country. With Origin Point, we're creating a direct connection between these agents and the top loan officers in the industry. That's the Compass founder and chairman, Robert Refkin. He said in the statement on Tuesday, buying a home is the most emotionally and financially significant decision of most people's lives, and the role of the agent is to make that process as stress-free as possible. So this is something called horizontal integration. If you were a fan of economics like I was growing up, I just loved it, studying it. There's two different types of there's a vertical integration and horizontal integration. Vertical integration starts to take supply chain control. So for instance, Apple computers, vertical integration, owning the factories that make their computers, then buying the chip manufacturers that make the chips, then buying the stores that distribute it, the products that they have. So they are fully vertical integrated from supply chain all the way down to the retail sale. Well, horizontal integration is when you buy services that are like in kind. For instance, Keller Williams has a mortgage company and a title company. Crylike has a title company, and I think they're working on a mortgage company. I think they may already have it. Now, Compass is kind of doing the same thing. This horizontal integration gets the consumer at the same X factor, right? They're all making the same decision at the same time, and that's where they're going to try to pile all of their services onto that client. And their hope is to offer a better streamlined service. To do more of his quote, Origin Point brings together two digital first companies to deliver a mortgage product that provides seamless and transparent experience for all agents and their clients, which ultimately leads to simpler real estate transaction for everyone involved.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much this affects the real estate industry as a whole, but yeah, D Jones checking in says one-stop shop. But I mean, it's the same thing. We talked about it a lot, because it was when it was 2018 or so, wasn't it, when Keller Williams was doing their own mortgage company and stuff? Because I used to be with KW, and they always have had an in-house lender, so they just kind of, it was the natural next step. So I don't think, the only thing I question is, like, if you want to use a Compass agent, do you have to use their mortgage company? That's the only thing I always question.
Hold up. Compass is a national company.
Yeah.
The tweet announcing Origin Point has 5 comments, 10 retweets, and 36 likes. Did you find that? I wonder if they're being suppressed by Twitter for marketing or something.
Well, they're a national company that's also supposed to be at the forefront of technology, so they should be getting some traction.
That's weird. Mario Flores said, "Did you hear that Compass stock 30% of its value went up or down? Wonder if they're still a tech company. Don't see what they do different. Did you hear that Compass stock 30%? What are you saying, Mario? Sorry.
Yeah.
Matt Lamar said the perfect amount of banter today. Good. I'm glad
Yeah.
you like it, Matt.
Thank you.
We always have the banter analysts. I appreciate Matt Lamar.
And by the way, Matt, I'm getting your messages of just Clubhouse not showing, but it says Matt sent you a message. Update to the latest version. Yeah. So anyway.
Really? Did Compass stock go down 30% on that
Hold
announcement?
Ray, stretch. I'll look.
Well, yeah, look it up. Maybe if they could have gotten more retweets. 281 views of their video. That's insane. July 13th. It's been out there.
Oh,
that's numbers that I get on Twitter, and I don't use Twitter.
Right. Compass shares lost more than $3 billion of value in 3 months of trading.
What?
This is from a week ago, dude. From The Real Deal.
We missed this.
It took Compass just 3 months as a public company to lose. Breaking news from a week ago.
Yeah, when news breaks, we fix it.
A week late. Sorry, guys. Sorry for your broken news, but we're fixing it right now. So the stock, this is
story of a girl. Sorry.
Oh, you know why? They waited 5:40 p.m. They last week after the show. They waited. So the stock closed at 12:25. They do that on purpose to hope we miss stories like this, so we don't cover it. And we did, but now we found it. Thank you, Mario. The stock closed at 12:25 on Wednesday, a new low that gave the company a market value of $4.7 billion. That's a drop of 39% from its starting price of $20 a share at its April 1 debut, April Fools, on the New York Stock Exchange. At that price, the company was worth about $7.8 billion. So, investors who bought the IPO price before the stock started trading at $18, investors who bought shares, blah, blah, blah. That's about 90% of the outstanding shares. So this is a quote. I don't know who this quote is from. Someone named Helfstein. That's a pretty rad name. Even if somebody did want to buy the stock, it's very hard to buy the stock in an open market right now. Compass's average daily trading volume is 791,000 shares. Helfstein said it's common for a company to share price to fall as the lockup date approaches, and the stock typically rallies after the lockup periods end. But is it going to rally 40%?
That's wild.
And on top of it, their mortgage company is getting zero traction. So what are they going to do, Ray?
And this happened.
Come out with a new round sign that lights up at night?
Oh, come on. All right, wait. So William has a take on this, and I just messaged you back, William, to see if you wanted to talk about this live. So let me know if you do.
Please do.
I'm not going to out him. But there's a LinkedIn post that has more about this. I'm going to read from the post. Make no mistake about it. Victor Caraldi is selling out all of the loan originators at guaranteed rate and guaranteed rate affinity with this maneuver. This is an all-in play for him to cash out before the IPO window officially closes for mortgage companies. This isn't an MSA that benefits guaranteed rate loan officers by creating relationships with Compass real estate agents. This is a strategic partnership under the guise of a digital mortgage venture with clear intention of cutting out loan originators from purchase transactions. In a desperate last-minute attempt by both of these firms to present themselves as a fintech company to increase their valuation on Wall Street before they cash in. I hope thousands of hardworking loan originators and communities across America see this for what it is and take their business to a mortgage company committed to support them long term. If you're a local loan originator that supports consumers, real estate agents in your community, drop a like or a comment. So that's the full post. I'm not sure. William, was that your post or was that a copy paste from someone else's post? You just tell me in the chat. Oh, wait. Here, let me bring you up. I see you talking now. Hang on. All right, go ahead, William.
Hey, Ray, that was just something I saw when you were talking about the compass. I just Googled it and that popped right up. So I wanted to share. I know Ron works for Guaranteed Rate as well. So I didn't know if he's seen anything about Victor doing that merge with Compass.
Very interesting take on that. That's kind of the opposite side of this take, which oftentimes we don't get. We see that a company has taken over another company, and that's kind of all that we hear about it. So this is really interesting to have that alternate take, William. I appreciate you bringing that to me. I know Kelly is also in the lending side of the business. Do you have a take on this, Kelly?
Well, not only am I in the lending side, but I am in a situation where my company has a unique position with a real estate company. Now, I want to preface this by saying we are not, part of our company is not necessarily owned by a mortgage company. A private owner has a stock in our company, basically. So the money that is generated from our company to the other stakeholder is not necessarily funding into the actual real estate company. It's funding into the stakeholder as a private ownership, as a private owner.
So it's a private owner, not a corporate owner.
It's a private owner, not a corporate owner, but in this type of relationship, if anybody's ever worked with, or if any lenders have ever been around Crylike before, they have, if you're a lender and you weren't working with them, you are barred from entering their office. So in this partnership, our ownership group has asked for a unique position in their office structure. So that's the benefit that we get by having another stakeholder in our company. So it is my job. Go ahead.
Oh, that's the MSA relationship, which is a marketing services agreement, correct?
So no, actually, that's how they got around it. It is not an MSA at all. How it technically is I've been told straight from our owner, it is not an MSA.
Interesting.
It's something that they've worked out between the two of them, and it's working. I don't know the legalities of it, but I know that we paid a lot of money to a DC compliance lawyer to make sure that this was kosher, and they
we're good. Years.
Yeah, so, that is how that works. Okay, well, cool. Well, thanks for sharing that too. So we have a couple of takes on this Compass thing. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, William. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. If you have anything else, just flash your mic. I'll come back to you. But
it's always interesting to me what gets the conversation going. And I didn't think Compass Mortgage would do it.
I really didn't either. Honestly, I thought that would be a real quick. We talked about it a little bit in the show prep show yesterday that we do it around 2:00 Central Time on Tuesdays. We do a show prep show in Clubhouse. We just bring up everyone who's in there. They can just come on stage and they tell us, hey, this is what's happening in real estate. Yeah. And somebody had mentioned the Clubhouse. I can't remember exactly who. It may have been Matt LaMarche, but I needed to give him one more shout out today anyway. But somebody mentioned the Compass.
He's got
that's the inside joke to the show yesterday. But I thought that would be a quick one, but it's really insightful from both the people that were in the YouTube, giving us the stats on the drop of their stock price, because that's interesting. And then the opposite take from someone that is actually a lender for, or an owner of Guaranteed Rate, or maybe owner of an office, or a vice president, branch managers. I don't know how they're, like everyone at a bank is a VP, and I don't understand that.
Yeah, the teller. No, VP of telling.
Yeah, literally everyone in a bank is a VP. But which is funny because I have a client. Hopefully he's not watching the show. But I had a client one time that was like, oh, yeah, I got a guy to do this loan. He's the VP of the bank, so I'm definitely going to get this thing. He said it's no problem. I'm like, oh, yeah, the VP? He's like, yeah, man. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I know the VP.
Yeah, the VP. He was like, he's a VP of the bank. He's like, makes a ridiculous amount of money. I was like, well, good for you.
I'm the VP of patron entries and exits.
Yeah, I didn't tell him that literally everyone in that office is the VP.
By the way, shout out to Matt LaMarche. Just thanks for being here today. Buddy.
Thanks for being Matt. And Nico too. Nico he's in our there's Nico. He's in the chat today. So thanks, Nico, for popping by. He says got to give him one more. Yeah, got to give Matt one more.
Yes, and Melissa, by the way, that's the Nico that has a buyer's market in Jersey. I don't know if it's Bergen County or which county is the buyer's market, but I think he's up in Bergen County.
Yeah, you guys are close to each other. You should hang out.
And you both say Wooder, by the way, so it's
Wooder.
Wooder.
All right, so let's talk about this rental assistance, and then we have one more. I guess 2 more short articles after this, but just a sliver of renters assistance has reached renters with eviction about to expire. National ban on evictions is scheduled to be lifted at the end of this month. Yet $45 billion of the assistance allocated by Congress has gone, a sliver of the $45 billion has gone to renters. The first round of rental aid was authorized by Congress in December. And by February, the U.S. Department of Treasury had distributed the full $25 billion. In March, Congress had allocated $21 billion. And so far, they've received $8.6 billion of that money. So that's not efficient. Despite the historic funding levels, however, government data shows that just about $1.5 billion had reached renters by the start of June. Wow. And only around 176,000 households have been assisted.
Yeah. With how many did it say?
176,000 households had been
out
assisted.
of some 11.5 million people in the U.S. that need the assistance. That's a fraction.
Yeah.
A tiny fraction.
It's 16% of adult renters.
Yeah. Not child renters. Don't
Adult
confuse
renters.
it with child.
No.
Not to make light of a serious situation, but do not confuse it with child renters.
The number
they mentioned, by the way, did you see? They mentioned adult renters again.
Yeah, the number of adults saying their household is behind on rent has been pretty steady since March, which is probably partially related to the slow rollout of emergency assistance.
As opposed to the children we polled, which said, rent's fine. Everything's cool. I have candy.
Yeah, they're like, what's up? We're fine. Nothing's going on.
Totally fine. By the way, on a side note, this show is going to be so difficult to chop up for Matt.
It really will be.
This one is all over the place. If you don't know, on our YouTube channel, we do chop up these stories into individual little bite-sized pieces, so you don't have to watch up the show. Yeah, so we do a BMORE
call it
chops.
Get it? Chops, where it's split
into bite-sized pieces. But if you don't like all this fun banter, this much maligned banter, you can click on. There'll be the article links that you can click through as the show. But yeah, this one's going to be a fun one for Matt to chop up.
Fun and maligned.
And I'm kind of doing it on purpose. Sorry, Matt. Love you.
Speaking of maligned, the NAR supposedly cut a deal with the Trump DOJ to undermine commission suits, says the CFA. Who is the CFA, you ask? The Consumer Federation of America. And they said that there's some, quote, circumstantial evidence that indicates the proposed settlement between the U.S. Department of Justice and NAR is designed to blunt class action antitrust lawsuits brought by home buyers and sellers against the 1.48 million member trade group. This article is from Inman. The biggest suits right now are Moeller and Sitzer, Sitzer. Those are the lead plaintiffs, and they seek to have the buyers pay their agents directly rather than having listing brokers pay brokers from what the seller pays the listing broker. All right. So before we go too far into this, let me describe how this would work. You have someone that wants to purchase a house. They can't afford to hire a real estate agent in order to purchase the house. So they're going to go it alone without representation,
without protection.
Without any kind of consumer protection for them. Instead, deal directly with a professional negotiator who is a listing agent, and they have to go up against them and the seller in order to purchase this home. Now, this quote unquote class of folk is in usually the bottom 1/3 of the housing market, disenfranchised. They have the down payment. They have some closing costs. A couple of years ago, they didn't have closing costs. And now they want to buy a house. They can't also afford an agent. So what maybe a wise buyer might do is wait until they have a little more money and can afford the agent. And then they get everything that agent affords them, including possibly a better deal on the house they're buying, representation throughout the transaction, so they're sure that nothing comes back on them after close, helping walk them through the contracts and every part of the stage of the process. Instead, they're going to go it alone. That's why I think this does not have legs. And that's why I would love for this lawsuit to be taken as far as it can go.
100%.
I think it would set a precedent that shows people that the way this compensation is currently set up is beneficial to consumers, especially those who can't afford it and have been maligned by society already. So the DOJ sued NAR in November, alleging that some of its rules were illegal and restrains realtor competition. They filed a proposed settlement. We talked about this last week, how there was the settlement and everything that it had in place. And then the DOJ withdrew from the settlement last week, saying that NAR refused to modify the deal to protect the agency's ability to investigate NAR conduct that could impact competition in the real estate market. So the gripe from the DOJ was, we've agreed to this settlement, but now we need you to change it because we realized that settling with this deal prevents us from suing you in the future for the same reason.
Right, which is a thing they should have realized pretty early on. It's in the fine print somewhere.
Mm-hmm. So now the CFA says, and the CFA is the Consumer Federation of America, that there is circumstantial evidence that indicates the proposed settlement between the U.S. Department of Justice and the NAR was designed to blunt this class action suit. And basically, he says, quote unquote, Stephen Brobeck of the CFA, senior fellow, he said, one can speculate that the proposed settlement received strong pushback from some career officials who are now appointed by the new administration. These career officials are strongly committed to impartial antitrust enforcement. After the election, these officials were able to delay a final settlement until after the departure of Trump appointees and the replacement by career officials. There ensued a months-long negotiation with NAR to give DOJ greater ability to continue pursuing anti-competitive practices by the industry. When the NAR refused to budge, or budged only a little, the DOJ decided to withdraw the proposed settlement. He believes that this is good news for those consumers, which is where we would disagree strongly. So they're alluding to some sort of collusion, some sort of nefarious practice, some sort of backroom deal from the NAR and the DOJ, previous DOJ, the previous administration. Mantel Williams, he is the
great talk show host.
No, that's Montel.
Yeah.
Mantel Williams, he is the president of communications. He told Inman that there's so much wrong and misleading about this press release, but we can tell you is as long-standing advocates for consumers, their best interests guide everything we do. Any and all questions about our rules and policies viewed through that lens, what's in the best interest of the consumer? So you can read more about this at Inman. It goes on to talk about the value of the MLS and a couple of other things. It's really just a dump from speculation. I believe, in my personal opinion, if somebody is out there with the CFA, I'd love for you to come up. But in my personal opinion, it is a press release grab for a quote unquote consumer advocate company that may be more on the side of the law, the suers, and less on the side of the actual consumer. They're trying to take down something that's big, that's been around for a long time, instead of really thinking through, like if they're actually for the consumer, then they would realize what they're saying would hurt the consumer. Like
100%. But I don't think they think it all the way through. They just say something bad's going on. This is nefarious. There's a plot against buyers. And then we got to sue. And part of it is probably hoping for a settlement, so people can get paid, I guess. But then they realized, well, if we settle, then we can't ever sue them again. So I'm down for 100% transparency. I know how this process works, and it favors buyers. If a change is made, and buyers, we've talked about it 1,000 times on the show, and buyers have to pay for their own representation, it's very possible a lot of buyers are not going to be able to get that American dream that we all talk about.
Mike Elizabeth Rodell said, I just closed FHA with an Addy loan. We got closing costs too. They totally could have not afforded representation. So
like
number one,
they needed closing costs, it sounds like.
Yeah, they needed closing costs. They needed down payment. They needed everything. So it's
But
amazing.
now,
One, quite the negotiator in this market in order to get that under contract.
Yeah. So now let me just go off that example right there. So, if you come in as a buyer's agent, or a buyer without representation, you may know what closing costs are, but you may not know how much you need to be covered. And then you're definitely not going to have the skills to negotiate that in, especially in this kind of crazy market. So to not only, and by the way, the seller agreed to that. Yes, sure, we'll cover their closing costs or a portion of closing costs to get this deal done. It makes everyone that's a win-win for all parties. You know, the seller gets to sell the house to a great buyer, and they get some closing costs covered, and they can hopefully move towards the closing table sooner than later. So, again, full transparency on this. I'm down. Let's go. Show it all out there. And showing what buyers agents make on Zillow and Trulies and stuff. That's great for sure. Do that. Yeah. You can show the true negotiating skills of some of those listing agents is what I think it shows.
Well, and I've had several people contact me. I had one yesterday actually contact me and said, "Hey, I want to put an offer on this price because I want to save the buyer's agent compensation." I said, "You're not going to save the buyer's agent compensation." They're like, "What do you mean?" I was like, I told them, I was like, "That just means that I don't have to split with someone else." And it was like silence. They're like, "So I don't get any savings at all?" I said, "No." I said, "Agents are probably going to tell you that, but I'm just being honest with you. You should go hire an agent."
and in fact, I say the same thing. And in fact, you're going to have me trying to negotiate in the middle, which I can't tell you much, and I can't tell my seller much. It's all disclosure. So I can't negotiate as hard as I would for you if I were just your buyer's agent or just your so I would recommend go getting your own agent, then sending over your offer.
And the person had no idea what they were doing, what they were talking about. They were trying to take it on all themselves, asking weird questions right from the get. They had no idea what they were doing. They needed somebody to guide it through the transaction, also to show them properties that are actually available. I do want to bring up, you know what? I just had a thought. If there was a situation in which the bottom third of the market couldn't afford a real estate agent, I think we would start a 501c3 that I don't know what C it would. Maybe it's a C4. I don't know. It'd be a not-for-profit that would cover the cost of a real estate agent for those that couldn't afford it. And the cost would be made from contributions from sellers.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Like, you would sell a house, the seller makes a contribution to the 501c3, and then anyone that can't afford the representation is provided for them from the 501c3, not for profit.
For their specific listing, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, then what happens if a buyer doesn't use?
Because that's
what happens if the buyer doesn't use their donation?
I guess it would go to the next person up or something, right?
So the seller's donating but may not get it back.
Well, it's a foundation. Once you make a donation, you can't really
foundation. There you
go. Yeah. This is really interesting. All right, so I want to put up Adam Johnson. He says, "Man, Ray, your voice is getting deep. Hopefully you're not sick, Rona Pandy."
We can say all those things.
Michael Elizabeth Rodell says, "Wait for it. Dan will catch on in a second."
I don't know what I'm supposed to catch on to. I read that.
The nonprofit donation, not for profit donation. The seller makes a donation, and then the funds are provided to those that can't afford it. I think this may be a winning idea. Okay, so let's talk about. I'm really curious now. I'm gonna have to put out some feelers to some people that I know and see if that's. Because that would be hilarious if this goes through. I think there's not enough funny emojis on Michael Elizabeth Rodell said, haha. Paul Lynn, he liked the show. Thanks, Paul, for liking the show. Oh, we should mention, could you guys go to the podcast after the show and like rate it? So we show up. I don't think we have any podcast ratings. So look for the Bearded Men of Real Estate podcast.
And just go follow it when we upload. It usually takes about a day or two for Matt to get it up, but once we upload it, you get notified. And if you can't stay for the whole show, you can just listen to it in the background on Spotify, truly, or your smart speaker can play it if you say play the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show podcast.
Yeah, I do want to bring up Clubhouse, see if anybody's got anything to add about this NAR lawsuit, buyer agents representation. I know you guys have something to add. Julie Moon, she's in the group. Cindy, hey, how's it going? Flash your mic and we'll come to you real quick. Who wants to take first dibs on this?
Hi everybody, it's Cindy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, I've got a red bar, so pardon. Hey Ray, I sent you on the back end, which I just found the back end chat. That was very exciting.
Yeah, her profile picture is great on Clubhouse, by the way.
Yeah.
What panels are still stuck at 1,700? And I don't seem to understand why, because those usually trade within 5% of each other. Any comments, thoughts on that?
So I was talking with a supplier the other day, and they said even though the lumber prices are going down, those are lumber futures. And so it takes a long time to trickle through everyone. So that's probably what you're seeing is that which is in stores currently was purchased at a higher price point, and they have to funnel through all of that before they come back, before prices come back down. So that may be what you're seeing there.
So they wouldn't see a really quick reaction.
Yeah, it will take a while to filter.
Which that answers my question, by the way.
Oh, good. All right. So anyone else want to, thank you, Cindy, by the way, for commenting, contributing, and checking us out on Clubhouse. Anyone else want to comment on the representation? I think it'll create, is disparage the right word I'm looking for? Those who can't afford representation. And so I think as consumer advocates, you guys need to talk to your board about this and make sure that we're all on the same page of what we're doing here.
100%. And this is one, you know, we don't always agree with NAR, but you know, this is let it go. Let it go. Let it run its full course. We're down.
NAR's not even taking that stance yet.
And maybe they haven't taken a stance. They were like, you know what? If they're going to come after us, then we're going to just be happy that our policies are great. What?
Yep. Yeah. Nico said, wish they did that with gas prices. Yeah. Take some time to trickle through. No. So we're, I think it's a big deal. And as real estate agents, if you're listening to us in Clubhouse, YouTube, Facebook, you need to reach out to your local board. Also reach out to those national folks and make sure they know the impact of this on the bottom 1/3, even 1/2 of the marketplace could be adversely impacted through no representation. So we're a lot more than just marketers as we walk people through these transactions, making some of them their biggest investment in their entire life. So hopefully we can continue to be advocates for everyone.
That is a great point by Lindy.
Lindy says, Lindy Chapman, thank you for joining. She says, fascinating conversation. In many countries, buyer reps are not a thing.
Which is interesting to me because we have, I don't know if it's the same across the country. I assume it is, but we have, home warranty, which protects the buyer. We have inspections and then just guidance throughout the process. Who is it, the lender that does it? I'd be curious to hear, not to go into too much detail about it and what other countries do, but I'd be curious to hear because just the entire process, like my buyer's consultation is at least an hour, and that's the kind of stripped down version to get them up to speed. And that's a lot of information in that hour. I usually like to take a little longer just so they don't feel overwhelmed. But and then just the contract itself, there's a lot of questions like, are you going to go to mediation before you arbitrate? You don't want to arbitrate at all. You want to go straight into the courtroom, all these things that we guide them through, and then there's just endless amounts of things that I go through, the knowledge that I've learned in 10 years.
Community Mortgage. I don't know what your name is, but they said this is a great plug for the importance of RPAC. Is it? I don't know.
Is it though?
I mean, I haven't heard RPAC say anything on this. So
they don't say much ever, by the way.
Living in Dallas, Texas says, what's up, Levi? He says, what kind of beard balm do each of you use? Levi, I'm all natural. I don't, so I just want to cover this real fast and we'll talk about our last article of the show.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize this, but beard oil, beard balm, and that kind of thing, though there is some style in some of them, like waxes and stuff, that's more of a stylistic choice. But a lot of the balms and oils are actually for your skin under your beard.
Yes.
And if you're a oily person already, which I am, I have naturally oily skin, then chances are you don't need the extra stuff on top of your beard. So I'm all natural. And occasionally I might use a little bit of beard oil just if I wanted a nice smell or a nice look in a photo or something, but I don't really use any of it.
Yeah, I have a pomade that there's nothing. This is all natural as well, but I condition once a week. I condition my beard once a week. That's it.
Yeah.
And I don't use anything else, but I got a fresh trim. So it's but when it's unruly, then I'll put something in there, but it's just it's a pomade that, I use for my hair. But yeah, it's just au natural. It's the best way to go. And yeah, a lot of people think you got to oil your beard. You don't. You really don't. It's for your skin, not your beard.
Speaking of unruly, NAR brings back the pitch battle for real estate tech.
AKA, we have no ideas of our own.
We have no ideas. Any contest winner will receive $15,000 cash prize. This is what they should have done with the logo back in the day. When they were trying to change the logo and they spent $1 million. What was it, like $250 or $250,000 or $1 million?
I wish it was $250. It was $250,000.
Logo Arena could have done.
And then just came out with a 3D version of our logo. It's not even
like a cereal box with an R on it.
We had lot of fun with that one. If you didn't, go search shows from 3.5 years ago and see if you can find it.
Contest winner will receive $15,000 cash prize at the trade group's 3rd annual Innovation Opportunity Investment Summit. After canceling its real estate technology conference last year due to the COVID, the National Association of Realtors brings it back along with its main event, a head-to-head contest, which startups compete for cash prizes. Let's see. What is it? Hosted by NAR's for-profit investment subsidiary, Second Century Ventures, in which aspiring real estate tech startups vie for $15,000 in cash and the attention of venture capitalists and others who could help them make a splash in the industry. Pitch battle. Hopefuls have until July 9th. Oh, sorry, guys. This is late. You're too late if but you maybe submit an application and be accepted. Application form asks the mission and value of the applicant's product, the applicant's target customer and market, and how companies or individuals are using the product in the applicant's business model and pricing structure, among other questions.
So, okay. I used to work in the video game industry, and they had the same thing because, the company I worked for, I've said it before on the show, but I don't want to in this instance because I'm going to kind of call them out a little bit, but they didn't do a lot of super duper original titles. But every now and then they would say, because if you worked there, you sign an NDA, and essentially any ideas that you came up while working
were theirs
for them or theirs. It didn't matter if you came up with it, while at home or just chatting with your friends. It didn't matter. They were theirs. So, but every now and then they have this, hey, if you have a design idea for this game or a new game idea, let us know. And all I ever heard was, we don't know what we're doing. We're out of new ideas. All we're going to do is rehash the same title over and over again until hopefully we jump on the next new idea or we buy an original idea from somewhere. But that's what NAR is doing here is like, hey, if you guys have any good ideas, we'll pay you 15 grand, which would be much better if, hey, hire me, salaried employee, pay me 120 grand a year, and I'll give you endless ideas. But no, they want to get all these because think about, the other big picture thing is they're going to get. I mean, what they get 20 submissions. I don't know. What if they get 2,000?
So I thought this was interesting too. They released this press release, right? It's released July 7th. The deadline for applicants is July 9th. That's a little quick.
It's quick. And not a very publicized story, but imagine though, whatever, let's just say they get 2,000.
See, Mario that actually has a good tech product who is watching the show says,
going to apply next year.
We'll apply next year. Yeah. Maybe
so
you'll
turn on notifications from NAR, I guess.
Yeah. Turn on the NAR notifications. Go ahead and apply now for next year, Mario.
But imagine though, you get 5 really good ideas. One's a winner. Now you just have 4 other really good ideas that you can just kind of take. Oh, sorry, you didn't win, but apply next year. And if something happens to come out in the next year that's kind of like your idea, well, you submit it to us. So, you signed the contest rules or whatever. Like,
I wonder maybe, but at the same time, I don't mind it. Like, I like the free market. I like people being incentivized. Sure. I don't think $15,000 would be enough for a lot of serious entrepreneurs in the tech space.
I think it's gonna be a lot of kids that are like, you know what? Not adult renters. They're gonna child renters.
Kids who saw the application in 2 days came up with an idea and applied. That's super fast.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot of up and coming tech entrepreneurs or tech wannabes that are looking to NAR for their great idea.
Maybe next week we'll have a press release that they said, hey, we're extending the application deadline due to the phenomenal response.
Yeah, phenomenally low. But all they need to do is watch this show weekly. They'll get something good.
Speaking of something good, this was a good comment by Lindy. She said, I was a client a dozen times before becoming a realtor. DOJ is simply forcing us to rethink real estate from the consumer's perspective. I think there probably are a lot of people in the politics side of that, Lindy, that I would agree with. They're having to rethink it from the consumer's perspective politically.
But there's also a lot of politicians that support Rex real estate, and they think differently. Yes.
Which we've talked about. But I think real estate agents across the board should have been thinking of the consumer for a long time. And if our North Star as real estate agents are not on the consumer experience from start to finish, from the first inquiry, from whatever ad you put on, whatever, that first inquiry all the way to close and then years after, if you're not thinking about that consumer experience, then you've already lost. And you may get that closing, but you've lost the lifetime client. And I think that as real estate agents is kind of our next step. is to see how we can really make a difference and an impact in the consumer experience. Because streamlined, if you're only after a streamlined process, then you're behind, because computers can do streamlined all day. Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, all those online real estate companies can offer a streamlined process from contact to close. But what we as real estate agents have to offer is truly an amazing and incredible and unforgettable experience. And if we're not focused on that, then we'll lose out to the computers. And then eventually real estate agents will be obsolete, because people just try to list their stuff on their own on their computer. It'll be a big nightmare. So I would implore everyone to be thinking of it from the consumer side, especially those who are involved in the politics around NAR. See what you can do as real estate agents now to call those people that make the decisions for us, that are our representatives at NAR, and see if you can get on the same page with what this actually means for consumers. Because I haven't seen an article talk about it. I haven't seen the NAR talk about it. I haven't seen RPAC comment on it in a way that I think is beneficial to the consumers. It's more of a protectionist society trying
It's
to
a
protect.
reaction.
Yeah, it's a protection instead of looking at the actual value that a buyer's agent provides and how that could be taken away from those who need it most. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, which is a great point. I mean, why not, again, go through this whole lawsuit and just see how it shakes out? But also more transparency is fine with at least Ray and I. I don't know if everyone agrees that's listening or watching on the podcast or on Clubhouse. But, I mean, why not really take a good look at it? If these lawsuits are coming up, it's kind of a, if there's smoke, there's fire kind of thing. Like, maybe there's something to this. Maybe look at the process and maybe see how we can make it better. And then if we kind of shake it all out and it's like, well, if we made this change, it would really kill the process or kill the possibility for purchasing a home for a lot of buyers. Maybe we don't do this.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we'll start to leave you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Please rate it for us so that we can be actually mentioned when people search real estate. We have quite the viewers, and it's continuing to go up every week. I say viewers, but it's an audio podcast. You can also find us on YouTube by searching the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. You can find us on Facebook. Follow the page. You can become a member of the BMORE contributors group if you want some of the back channel stuff. Follow us on Clubhouse. You see Dan's head there. He's the red bearded fella. I'm the brunette bearded fella. And follow us on Clubhouse so that you'll be notified whenever we do rooms like this. If you're in Clubhouse, there's a group called the Real Estate Networking. Yeah, it's the Real Estate Networking Club is what it is. But you'll see a little greenhouse. Click on that greenhouse and be sure to follow the club. That way you're alerted of rooms like this. There's a Matt LaMarche. Are you in the room? He's got a room that is going to be the high level mastermind. When is that, Matt? Oh, sorry.
We're doing a whole thing.
And we'll be doing it tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern.
There you go. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's quickly becoming one of my favorites, so I try to catch it every time. Last week I had to miss it, but it's an amazing high-level mastermind group. So they're not going to be talking about like, be sure to send mailers. No, it's like super high-level stuff. So I really have been enjoying that. So Mia, what's up, Mia? She said, I don't know where the podcast sign-up is. You can go into your favorite pod catcher. So you can use iTunes, or you can use the podcast app on your phone if you're an Apple user.
Spotify.
You can use Spotify. I think producer Matt dropped those links in the chat earlier. So producer Matt, if you could drop them in again. Oh, yeah, there are. If you scroll up a little bit, but if you're joining, she may not be able to see it. So we'll send those to you. Oh, she says she got it. Okay, good.
There you go.
Oh, wait.
Katie Ellen.
I keep getting calls. Sorry, I keep getting calls. Sorry.
Turns out we're busy real estate agents.
Turns out. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining the show. We really appreciate you guys. Dan, tell everybody where they can find you.
D Ludwig Rocks. Most importantly, over on Cash App or here on Clubhouse, just shoot me a tip. Buy me a drink. I appreciate you guys. I told you I would shamelessly promote this. Now that I can get tips on Clubhouse, I'm in, dude.
There you go.
Shoot me a tip.
Tip.
Yeah. Hey, we provide this great content for you guys. And by the way, if you're not following all of everyone that came up on stage and spoke with us today and helped us with all the content on Clubhouse, go follow them. And, like Matt LaMarche's group, that's the last shout out you get today, buddy. But It's awesome because I usually just jump in for like 5 minutes if I'm driving somewhere. You just get great info because you never know who's going to be talking. So it's awesome. But yeah, D-Lettered Rocks everywhere. So Instagram, if you want, on social media, that's where I post most of my stuff on Instagram. DLUDWIGROCKS. Ray, where can they find you?
Wherever good Razorbacks are sold. RAYZORBACKS. That's RAYZORBACK.
I'm in the market for a new Razorback. Where can you buy those? Well,
find me on Instagram. I'm putting a lot more content on there. I'd also like some feedback. I put the top stories that we were going to cover today. I love that feedback. If you thought that was helpful, I'll do that every week. If you didn't think it was helpful, I'm not going to do it. So check that out for me later. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks, Clubhouse. We'll see all of you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you guys. Love you. Bye.
Thank you.